You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Welcome to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Williams, dropping some astro forecasts as we navigate new energy shifts this week. So let's get into it. Monday, November 11th, Venus ingressed into the sign of Capricorn, where she has taken all the things that she's learned and explored from her time in Sagittarius and is here to bring it to business. I feel like Venus in Capricorn gives off this Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada vibes. She's serious, she's ambitious and stylish, focused on building her legacy. She takes charge but knows how to delegate. She thrives in order and structure, and she will set boundaries to keep it that way. She will also cut ties when she needs to. So this is a boss Venus that we're dealing with. And when Venus is in Capricorn, we could feel like we want to get down to business and take practical steps to move towards our goals. This goal could be weight loss, household duties, just day-to-day responsibilities, work, or entrepreneurship. We could be increasingly motivated to handle tasks, make appointments, and create new schedules that feel good and productive for us personally. We could be silently realizing the communities or people we no longer resonate with and could be restructuring our circles with those who are more aligned to our values. On Tuesday, November 12th, Mercury in Sagittarius was in a tense conversation with Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So two things about this transit. Number one, Mercury is not a strong communicator in Sagittarius because he is strong in the opposite sign of Gemini. And number two, Mercury is in his shadow period, getting ready to station retrograde November 25th. So, with that being said, we want to look out for interactions with people who can be very opinionated, judgmental, people who can overlook details, talk out the side of their necks, lead into a lot of misinformation, and also be mindful that this could be us. We could really be in a talking outside of the next season. This transit can also present rigid or limited thinking and narrow minded communication. So, we want to be mindful of that too. Is there something that we need to think about, something that we need to ask questions about? Just take a step back versus going in with our opinions and being really loud and really wrong about something. So during this week, we could run into just some short-sighted communications, misunderstandings, tensions, full-out conflicts and arguments. And also with Mercury being in that shadow period, we could be finding ourselves with some tech issues, accidents, and just needing to reduce or retract something. And so Saturn, who's still retrograde in Pisces for the next few days, is asking for our maturity and mindfulness regarding what we give our attentions to and the conversations we choose to engage in. He wants us to look again, to not overpromise and underdeliver, stick to the details, and fact check something before you say it. Also, if you feel like you don't have the capacity to do something, you've been invited to something, don't be afraid to cancel, reschedule, or decline. Saturn retrograde in Pisces always wants you to check in with your inner capacity, your energy to do something, and not to please somebody else. We're going to jump right down to Friday, November 15th, where two major events are happening. First, we have Saturn, who was retrograde in Pisces that we just spoke about, is finally stationing direct. So this is going to happen at about 8:20 a.m. at 12 degrees of Pisces. So this is the Pisces degree. So this is just like extra, extra like surrender energy. Saturn first stationed retrograde in the sign of Pisces around June 29th, 2024. So let's bring our minds back to what was happening and changing back then. Saturn turning direct is bringing us into a season of spiritual strength and clarity. We're slowly starting to see how it all comes together and makes sense right now. We're listening to what is showing up in our intuition, confirming what's starting to feel more familiar, what's starting to feel more regular for us now because back in June, something probably ended or shifted. We cut ties, and it's starting to feel more like our new normal. And we're also receiving more clarity on what will and won't work for us. This is also connected to this energy with Venus and Capricorn, where we're making our schedule that fits us and suits us better, and definitely cultivating an awareness around our own personal responsibilities and duties. A now direct Saturn is wanting us to get back into the quiet of things, especially with all the noise that happened last week. Get back to our own stillness so that we can hear our own wisdom and ask ourselves, what have we realized and what are we done with? Also, what responsibilities, appointments, and rescheduling needs to get done. How can we take more responsibility in our day to day life? The second event on Friday, November 15th, is the full moon in Taurus, happening at around 3:27 p.m. Central Time. The moon is at 24 degrees conjunct Uranus, who is at 25 degrees of Taurus. And then we have the sun at 24 degrees of Scorpio. Every time we have a full moon, the sun is in the direct opposite sign of the moon. So full moons are a point of enlightenment, understanding, release, revelations, and a full moon usually does well in the sign of Taurus. It focuses on what we need and value, brings a sense of security and stability into the material world, and gives us a feeling of groundedness. But this moon is different. With the moon sitting right next to Uranus, our planet of change, sudden occurrences, creative insights, and surprises, this full moon is bringing a change or some sort of shift in the way we find security and handle our resources, showing us how we have to do something in a different way. This week, we could feel restless and anxious as we are being brought to some sort of turning point with our finances. We could feel shaken up in our sense of physical security and security in the material world, our safety. Something shocking and surprising could affect our finances. Perhaps our savings could have took a hit with an unexpected cost or repair, or you have a teenager who grew out of all his pants overnight like I do. This full moon is bringing focus on where we need to strengthen our resources. What habits and routines do we need to change to create more financial and material stability? So with Uranus conjunct this full moon, we can expect an event that brings some type of change, some sort of plot twist that comes out the blue. This change can be a good thing, but also something kind of disruptive. Uranus can bring us something beneficial yet uncomfortable and destabilizing. For instance, let's say you landed some contracts and you have to go to Paris. That's an amazing opportunity, but it's very destabilizing because there's so much in a short period of time that you might have to handle right here in your day to day life. That's what I mean when Uranus can be beneficial yet destabilizing, but all to bring us out of some comfort zone and into some sort of newness, some sort of freedom and liberation. But that's what Uranus does. Uranus doesn't care about our comfort zones. Uranus will shake up the spot with the intentions to facilitate some sort of change and freedom, and does not have regard for traditions and nostalgia and rules or the old structures and systems, the hierarchy, all those things. Uranus doesn't care about that. Uranus is like, listen, we're doing this, right? Somebody might be ready to jump on the other side of something. Venus in Capricorn is the host of this full moon party. She's the ruler of the full moon because she's the ruler of Taurus. And even though things can feel unstable, our Miranda Priestley has her eye on the goal. She's looking at the people in her orbit, her time and her money. She's using discretion, she's using caution with these resources, and focusing on values that don't lead to her own self betrayal. And then finally, Saturday, November 16th, we have the sun in Scorpio entering in exact opposition to Uranus and Taurus, bringing something unexpected in our relationships and how others make us feel. There could be some sudden outburst or event that leads to a disagreement with a spouse, partner, or someone we are closely connected to, like a friend. This can also be somebody in business partnership that we feel really bonded to, but Scorpio is all about those connections that we bond deeply with. So something we may have been holding on to can erupt due to a triggering situation, but the Scorpio energy wants us to look at our own emotional needs and understand what we really want and how we really feel, and to communicate that. So we could be tired of putting up with something or no longer identifying with how another relates to us or how another person treats us. We could be done with that, walking away from that. We could be seeing how we've changed emotionally. The things that used to piss us off don't anymore. The grudges, the triggers, they don't have the power over us that they used to. Uranus also gives sudden revelations. So Uranus can give a sudden revelation or insight that it could be time to let something go. It can also be a time to express something unsaid or unconscious that may show up in the form of an accident or an emotional explosion if left unchecked. So if you have something that you want to work through, you want to go ahead and get that out, work it out. You don't necessarily have to talk to a person. You can write it out and burn it or flush it, but you want to get that out of your own experience because Scorpio is the season of transformation. Personal, deep emotional transformation. And we don't want to leave all that nasty stuff inside of us, okay? Just want to give a little asterisk reminder that this will be a tense week. Last week was tense. This week is tense. Next week is probably going to be tense. But this is a tense time for everyone because everyone is in some sort of a evolutionary journey with the energies that are affecting us. So, we still have Pluto getting ready to ingress into Aquarius next week. Saturn station in direct. And we got all of these come to reality moments. You're right. That's right, Thais. We have all of these come to our own self moments, come to Jesus moments. And that's not going to be easy, very triggering. So many shifts are happening right now. So many shifts are going to happen in 2025. And as we're shedding into something new, we still are, harboring some things or we're trying to work through some things that make us prickly. So we just really want to be mindful of the emotions of others, our own emotions. Mercury's in a shadow period. Stuff going to get said that's not going to, go the right way. You're going to hear something that somebody didn't say. Somebody going to hear something that you didn't say. This is a great time to take a walk. This is a great time to not get into any talking to the brick wall conversations and just like, hey, go for a walk, leave that party, leave that get together if it doesn't feel right. Take care of your own wounds before they spill on someone else because that's just going to be bad for everybody. And that is all I have for this week. I hope everyone takes care of themselves. Go into the quiet. If you feel sleepy and out of energy, honor that because that stillness is very productive for you. Have a great week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.